am seeing that it is now 6 o'clock. And so I will go ahead and open the regular meeting of the Board of Directors on the 19th of May at 6 o'clock. And we'll start with a roll call, starting with Mr. Johnson
Johnson present.
and Mr. D'Alessandri.
Sandri present.
And Marianne Byers, she is also here. At this moment, we know that Debbie Roberts is absent and we have not yet seen Mike Adams. Okay, let's go ahead and move on to the Pledge of Allegiance. If you can roll that, Jessica.
I thought that I might say it again.
Okay, I think, yes.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. That is actually quite nice, much better than just rolling it. So thank you for that, Jessica.
You're welcome.
All right, let's move on to our next item on our agenda, which is a patrol report delivered by our Deputy Sam Perez. Officer Perez, please.
Okay. Okay, I'm new at this, so I'm gonna try out this PowerPoint, see how it works out.
Okay.
Ooh, look at that. I love technology. Well, if it worked, there we go. Okay, as always, my cover page. That's who I am. That's my email address and the non-emergency line. So
I am seeing right now, just the Pledge of Allegiance right now. We're not seeing anything else on the screen. There it is. There. Perfect.
Okay. So once again, that's who I am. My email contact number, and of course, the non-emergency line for non-emergency phone calls.
Okay, it's not the tail light is in back. It's a front turn signal is what I'm assuming, because it's not the back one, right?
Okay, the tops will be the lookout, fire,
Right.
house parties,
Tail
homeless,
down.
and mail issues. That actually be covered by Amanda Cessna. First of all, the lookout, as you can tell now, it's all barricaded up with K roads and everything, so there's no access. There is now signage up there indicating that you can't park in the area. This is great now because that gives law enforcement the ability to start citing people for parking there illegally, and if they go beyond the barriers, trespassing. I know the lookout is not within our district, right? But it impacts us a lot. Now that that's closed off and everything, I've been working nights dealing with that issue. The kind of bad part about it is that now they're trying to venture deeper into Duluth. I chased them out of, I'm so sorry. They were at Via Tornado, which on the east side of the Sycamore Mesa, so Vista Rosa that is. So I got them out of that area, and they're trying to frequent Camino Gatillo, which is another lookout we've had in Duluth. But I've been more or less hit them hard in terms of for citations, for the usual stuff, you know, smoking marijuana, now illegal parking because Steve put up signage, and also the red curbing, which allows me to cite for parking violations. But as you're aware, Rancho California falls within the CHP. So at the bottom right there, you always call them right away because it's a traffic issue. If you're not getting a response, you can always contact us. And quite frankly, we'll refer to a CHP. But if they're too busy and I'm on, I'll take care of it. In terms of fire safety, we're currently in fire season right now, and people are making poor decisions. I was working at night, and I came across these individuals with a little fire going. As you can see, they're overlooking Temecula, and there's dry brush there. Of course, contacted the fire department. They came out with their fire engine, and they used their hoses to take out the fire. Both parties were cited for having a fire, which is not too intelligent, and those are pretty hefty fines. So when you see this type of stuff, please contact law enforcement. when we do that, automatically gets forwarded to the fire department.
Deputy Perez,
Sure.
there, I've noticed that coming up Rancho California, from the bottom of the hill on the right, there are tents down there.
That's coming up, sir.
Okay, sorry about that.
Not a problem. Actually, this last month, we've had 2 large parties up in Duluth. It's getting warmer now. So we had one on Sandia Creek. We had a total of 5 deputies and K-9 unit respond to that one. Just understand when these parties occur, on that particular party right there, we were told that there was outlaw motorcycle gangs out there. So whenever we hear that there's any type of gangs out there, gang activity, we try to come in numbers for obvious reasons, safety reasons. So we took care of that one right there. The second one, which is off of El Calamar Road. First of all, the first one, they were filming a music video there. If you're allowing that, it's not good. The last one we had was off of Guy Capistrano, and that one was also huge. And it required me and CHP to clear that area also. The second one on El Calamar that happened this last period, there was over 100 vehicles parked on El Calamar Road, which made a real safety issue. We had that many people there. We're going to come in numbers. It was actually a CHP call for service, but seeing over 150 cars out there and the large size of the party, we responded with numbers also to basically take care of the CHP, kind of a little bit of a mutual aid there, take care of each other. So, I mean, these parties can get out of control, and when you throw these parties, you got to consider parking and how it will prevent people from driving down the roads, which inconvenience your favorite neighbors. So I would encourage people, if you have a party, make sure that there's parking available. That way it doesn't cause this type of response. There we go, Robert, for you. The homeless issue. Right now, Temecula is pushing really strong in terms of like doing their outreach programs to deal with the homeless. So as they become more active than being law enforcement, people tend to push further out to try to get away from visibility. That tent that you see there, obscured by the brush, that was actually off Rancho California Road. I believe that's one Robert's talking about. So it came out that it was actually in the city of Temecula jurisdiction. At first we weren't sure, so I went out there with them, and sure enough, there was a tent down there. It got cleared out, and they actually got a notice put on there, basically same to our notice to vacate the area. When you see this type of stuff, like I see them every now and then trying to walk up the hill, I always contact them legally, make sure everything's good to go, need help or anything. And 9 times out of 10, they're just lost. So I try to direct them in the right direction, or also provide them with outreach programs. But if you see the homeless trying to do encampments around our area, you basically have 2 ways to do it. There's an app, as you see on the right side, says My Civic. It actually works for Temecula. It's one of their apps. You can go on an iPhone or your Android, pull it up, go through it. You can pinpoint the location. You can provide your name, your contact information if you wish to. And the officers will receive those during the day while they're on the field. When they come back the next day in the morning is when they'll handle it. This is not to handle calls for service that are serious. It's just to dealing with basically the homeless and minor incidents. Of course, you always call dispatch 951-696 help, and you get the exact same response, probably faster because it's going to dispatch. The good thing about that app is that you could pinpoint on the app where the encampment's at, or where the violations of laws are occurring at. So that way, when the deputies get it, they know exactly where to go to. So it's a great app for non-emergency calls for service. Okay, I believe Amanda Sessa should be on right now.
Hello. Can you hear
Hello.
me?
Yeah, we can hear you just fine.
Perfect. Good afternoon, everybody.
Good afternoon.
So I do a lot of the broken boxes. Can you guys see me?
Yes.
Okay. I do a lot of the broken boxes here in the Temecula area. I understand that you guys have 8 different HOAs plus private communities. So it makes it very hard to draw boundaries of who's going to replace a mailbox, they vandalize mailbox, so forth and so. We're trying very hard to put up there. I have been working with Deputy Perez. I let him know that when we have a vandalized box, and he tries to put up deer cams where he can and help me out in that instance. But we have 12 stops out there. And I have a couple of them that are very, very active. Stop 2, which we call Sycamore Mesa, Rancho California Road. Stop 4, which we call Rancho California and Cali Capistrano. And also stop 12, Sandia Creek and Villa Barranca. And stop 7, Carrancho and Los Gatos. The one lonely box that they hit out there consistently, but I don't hear from any residents necessarily, is the Duluth and Cameron box. The Duluth and Cameron box was set on fire. I didn't hear it from a customer. I heard it from my carrier. They're using shotguns out there. They're using tools out there. My suggestion to you guys, because I've said, let's try to get a joint mail room, maybe at the top of the hill, but nobody's got the property. Nobody wants to do the resources. So what it comes down to is vigilance. Check your mail daily. That's the only way it's going to be prevented. You guys just got 2 boxes vandalized last night. You got let's see, what is this stop called? I'm sorry. Sandia Creek and Villa Vaquero, box D was hit last night and they pulled the lock. There was no mail left. That's a simple fix for us. We just have to go put our lock back in. But that just tells you, I have this every day. Some of those places have awesome lighting. Some of those places have 0 lighting. And each of those stops, minus the Cameron and Duluth, carry an average of 4 to 16 boxes each. So how else to be vigilant? But check your mail daily. Where the responsibility lies, the box itself is postal property, but the slot and the lock is your responsibility. So if the individual lock gets damaged or taken out or shot out, we require you to replace the lock. We have been going back and forth with the HOAs of who's supposed to repair or replace the box. And unfortunately, because there's 8 of you, and then the other 10% who don't have it, nobody claims blame to the HOA. But as the community, when the community started, just like all these new housing developments, that was part of the installation. So unfortunately, there's not too much I can control, except for I do tell you guys, please go to the box every day. The world has changed. What are they looking for? They're looking for identity theft, but now we have switched to COVID, which is online shopping. You guys have long driveways, so most of the time my drivers can't get up your driveway. Your big boxes are put at your fence. In your mailbox, you have the high-end items, the phones, the computers, the laptops. They know they're in there because it's COVID. Everybody shops online now. That's pretty much it for vandalized boxes. How you can help us help you prevent theft. If you guys need any information, my name is Amanda, last name Cessna, like the airplane, CESSNA. My contact at the Temecula Post Office is 951-506-5513. And did anybody have any questions about the boxes for me?
I would just pose a question to you. When I moved here a long time ago, my box that was up in Duluth was in the wrong direction. So rather than being on the way down Rancho California and into town, it was further into Duluth. So I ended up buying a US Postal box down in the Old Town area. Is this something that you would recommend to everybody? And is there actually enough room for everybody to go with that solution?
Definitely, I recommend it often. The
Yeah.
hard part now, though, is because of theft, we used to have 24-hour lobbies. So that does also limit their access where they're upset with me, right? So when you come home after 5 p.m., you may be able to check your actual mailbox, but if you got a package and it's too big and they couldn't give you a key and you needed to pick it up, then that's where the frustration lies. But absolutely, that, if they can't check their mail, like I know there's a lot of groves out there, and so, unfortunately, so do these people. And I think some of these individual boxes are targets. Oh, maybe they're just the field and the checks come and nobody checks the mail but once a month. And maybe those people for sure need to get a PO box because they're just there for the checks. There is nobody on property. They just have a ranch keeper who doesn't
Right.
check mail. But definitely, but the downfall to that is the timing. And that's where I hear the other frustration. We used to be a 24-hour lobby, but we had to shut that down and we had to lock up our outgoing mailboxes due to the homeless and everything Deputy Perez covered. It's all over. It is literally all over. They do not depict where they're doing this. They do it to you in Duluth. They do it in wine country. They do it in the beautiful tract homes right across the street. And it's the new way of life. It's not about checks anymore. It's about what package is in there because your online shopping makes it so easy to steal your package and resell it and they can't trace it.
Right. So I would still venture to say that it's a safer way to ensure that your packages actually end up in your position.
Yep.
Can I, another question, and that would be, so COVID limited the amount of lobby hours, right?
Yes.
Do you think going forward, when we're kind of coming out of COVID, that will be restored? Or do you think budget now limits permanently the lobby hours?
The hard part for us is we're federal, not state. So we have to follow federal guidelines. And that's where the stickiness really comes in with everything. Nobody quite grasps that we're a federal entity and not a state entity. And we can't necessarily follow state guidelines. We have to follow the federal guideline.
Gotcha.
So until everything is fully lifted, I'm going to go with a probably no.
Okay. That was very informative. We sure do appreciate it. Did anybody else have any question of Mrs. Cessna? No. Well, thank you very much for that. We really enjoyed it. We really appreciated you giving us that.
And thank you very much for the invite. And like I said, you guys are not being pinpointed. It is across. It's frustrating. The biggest thing, get your mail before 6 or a PO box, like you said, somewhere that's in a secured building. It just comes with time constraints.
Yeah.
Thank
Okay.
you so much, you guys. Have a beautiful evening.
Thank you, and you as well.
Thank you.
Bye-bye now.
Bye-bye.
All right. So that was enlightening information. I think we kind of knew some of the issues there, but it was good to kind of have it brought to our attention again. At this point, I'd like to ask if there's any member of the public that's attending this meeting. Doesn't sound like it. So if
There is
Yeah.
a member, Susan Deardorff.
could you repeat that?
Susan Deardorff.
Or
is-
Susan? Okay. Well,
I'm
at this,
not sure if she would like to,
Right.
if she would like to public speak or address the board.
okay, so Mrs. Deardorff, would you like to address the board with any comments that you may have for the board? It would be limited to 3 minutes in order to expedite our meeting, but we would be very happy to hear from you.
Hi, no, I have nothing to volunteer or to ask any questions. We were just observing the meeting.
All right, well, that's wonderful. Thank you so much. We do appreciate having some public interest, so that's great. Let's move on to item D, which is the information only, which is just the consent, no, not consent, information only, which is the financial statements and statement of investment policies. Does anybody have any questions they want to raise to the board at this point? The board? Okay, we will move on. Thank you. Oh, also, let's let the record reflect that Mike Adams is now part of the meeting and is attending. We will move on to consent calendar. And that will be the minutes from last board meeting in April, general funds claims for April, sheriff special tax claims for April, and purchase orders, of which there were none. At this point, I'd like to entertain a motion and a second.
Move approval.
Okay, thank you. And second? I will second it. All in favor of this, please indicate so by saying hi, starting with Mike Adams.
Adams, aye.
Okay, and Mr. Johnson
Johnson, aye.
and Mr. D'Alessandro. D'Alessandri.
It looks as if he's left the room.
He may have left, but we still have a quorum, so that's a good thing. So we'll see if he comes back. And Marianne Bias is also voting aye. So that moves us along. Item F is the financial matter fiscal year budget for 2021 and 2022. And that's the introduction and first reading of ordinance number 2021-01 and the adoption of sheriff special tax rate and written report for fiscal year 2021 and 22, and a call for public hearings. So Mr. Emmons, if you'll please enlighten the board.
Hey, thank you very much. Good evening. This is the beginning of the annual budget process, which all government agencies go through at this time of the year. We begin in May, moving up to a final adoption and setting benefit assessment rates which go on the tax bills for the next year, as well as a sheriff law enforcement special tax, which would also be levied on the property tax bill next year. As you know, the rates are frozen by Prop 218 of 1998. But you still must levy these assessments and taxes each year. So we've prepared for you an ordinance, which is 2101, which makes all of this possible in one document. So essentially 2101 is an ordinance, so basically a law being passed by this agency, which adopts the tax rate for the next fiscal year and assesses the various zones within the district for the benefit assessment for roads. So it requires that you conduct a public hearing, which means that you need to open the public hearing, ask for any comment, then close the public hearing after you've received the comment. And then after discussion, if you'd like, because we have to be precise, I'd be happy to actually make the motion after you've had your hearing, and you can simply so move and the record will reflect the correct motion. You have to do this again. This is first reading. You have to do another hearing in June, and that will then be to actually adopt. Tonight, all you'll be doing is holding first reading and accepting public comment. And then the motion would then move the item onto the June agenda, and we repeat the process. So that's my report.
Okay, so at this point, we have one member of the public, Ms. Steerdoff, and if you have any comments to the budget, which is pretty much, as you heard, the same one as it's been since 1998. If there are no comments, I would move that we go ahead and vote on this motion or on this budget. And can we have a second?
Second.
Okay,
We need to stop at this point and I'm going to state the motion,
okay,
which would be that you move that ordinance 2101 be introduced by title only, that further reading be waived, and that ordinance number 2101 be so many years, be passed, passed to second reading.
okay. So moved.
Madam President, may I make a correction?
Go ahead.
This is not the same budget that we had since '78. We go through this budget process every year, but every year the budget is different. You said this is the same budget as 1970.
No, I'm sorry. It's the same process.
Sorry.
You have to do this every year is what I meant
Okay,
to say.
no problem.
Okay, sorry about that.
Thank you.
Okay, so we have the introduction and first reading of ordinance number 2021-01, adopting the special sheriff tax rate and written report for fiscal year 2021-2022 and a call for public hearing. Can we have a motion, or I move that we adopt this, and we need a second?
I'll second.
Second.
Okay. I'm not sure who called it first.
Ray was quick on the draw.
Quicker on the draw. Great. And all in favor, please so indicate by voting aye, starting with Mr. Adams
Adams, aye.
and Mr. Johnson
Johnson, aye.
and myself, Mary Ann Byers, aye. Okay, and we move along to item G, the review of proposed district budget and benefit fees for fiscal year 2021 to 2022. And that would be Manager Jim Emmons and Teresa Snyder. Thank you.
And Teresa Snyder will be making the report tonight on this year's budget.
Okay,
This coming year's budget.
Okay, hello, everybody. We had our finance meeting yesterday and we went over this in detail with the finance company. So what I will do is go through it, and at any point, if anybody has any questions or would like some clarification, please stop me and we will do so. Does everybody have the budget report beginning screen? Can they all see that right now?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. Okay, so we're going to go to the first page, which this is basically the summary page, everything kind of in a nutshell for this next coming year. On this, I'll point out just a couple of things. On the revenue section, you'll see that third item down, which is roadway rehabilitation and FEMA. So we're expecting $1.5 million that we have as a receivable from FEMA to be coming in this fiscal year. And then there's also an additional $392,314 that will be roadway rehabilitation revenue coming in addition to the above two items, the regular benefit fees that you see coming in there. And then it breaks down, of course, all our other parts of revenue that are coming in. The second section, of course, is all our expenses. One item of note is you'll see the last item is law enforcement expenditures of $257,000. That is what it's costing us to run our one sheriff and a small amount of CHP, a minimal amount of CHP. We have 293,000 coming in. We max out at that. So there's $37,000 excess that, will go back into that fund. But we're slowly, we used to have 2 cars, then 1 car. Within another year or two, 3-4 years, we're not even going to probably have enough to have one car until something is addressed with the revenue for the law enforcement. So anyway, those are just a couple of the highlights on the condensed version. Does anybody have any questions on that? No? Okay, we'll go ahead to the next section, which is the more detailed section. You can see by the end result, the budget is increasing 0.81%, which is of course less than 1% for the year is what we're proposing. So you can go in any of these items, if you have specific questions, again, I can address those. A couple of classification differences that I've made this year. If you go down to UAL, the unfunded accrued liability, which is our CalPERS unfunded liability that we're carrying, I separated that out from our ongoing employee retirement to CalPERS. So you can see the unfunded is an annual of $105,000, and the regular retirement is coming to just over $30,000. So I did split those out so you can see, you know, the different classifications of that. I also did split out health insurance and retirement health insurance. So you can see, instead of having it in one big classification, you can see that. Retirement is, it has gone down a little bit, mainly because we've had a couple of long-term employees retire. So that has decreased. But then their retirement health care, that's increasing. So, you know, just a couple of different differences. As we go down, anything of note, you might note from our actual office supplies have gone up about $1,200 a year. That's mainly because of all the COVID stuff we've had to buy, the screens, the wipes, all the stuff that we are mandated to have a safe environment here. Let's see what else. Also, we're expecting a pretty significant increase in insurance this year. We have two different classifications of insurance. One is our liability and one is property. Our property policy is expected to go up 30%, and our other policy is expected to go up probably at least a minimum of 15%. And if Jim has anything else he'd like to speak to that, that's fine, but we know that, we've been told that from Alliant, so we have that in the budget this year. Let's see what else. Now, if you go down to the last two items, you'll see capital asset purchases. We have 10,000 in there, mainly because we're probably going to need to possibly do some office upgrades and some more IT upgrades to finish out the whole project that we've been working on a couple of years, and it should be complete. The next item is long-term planning, and I have in parentheses GIS, mapping, IT, cloud, infrastructure. We spent 31,000 this last budget year. We budgeted 45,000. We spent 31,000. We still have more work to do to get this project to completion, so we decreased it to 20,000. So those are the main highlights in this section. Does anybody have any questions?
No.
No? Okay, let's go on to in-house road maintenance. Again, when you see wages supervisor, we had budgeted 100,600. Again, we had a retirement. So he was here part of the year, and then we had another Mr. Lee Bring filled in and took over that position. So it still was a decrease to 83,000. So looking at that, we still have a budget we put in there for this position of $87,000 for the next fiscal year. Let's see what else. Again, retirement has decreased for that same reason, people retiring that have been here for a long time. Workers' comp is going up just a little bit because, you know, they send us a E-modification factor based on our prior experience, blah, blah, blah. So it's increasing a little bit, not a lot. We're going from 8,700 to 9,100. Again, health insurance, we budgeted last year 25,000. That's decreasing again for the same reason to close to 22,000. As we're going down, because of the gas is starting to increase again, as everybody knows, I went back up and took it close to $12,000 a year. It may even run more than that. So that's going to be an increase for us. Now, the last three items in that section, the first one is contract labor, traffic engineering. What that is Willdan's specific traffic engineering work that we pay to Willdan, which is Steve Lebring, and we've budgeted about $1,500 a month for that going forward. The next item is general engineering. We've budgeted $2,500 a month for that for this fiscal year. Now, just keep in mind that these figures, you see a lot of Willdan bills coming through, but those are FEMA, they're roadway rehabilitation. These items I'm speaking to are just, do not include any of those items. So that's that. And the next section is our contract work. You'll see routine. That's our regular budget work. That's our, you know, we tree trimming, for example. That's a regular budget item. I've kept it the same the last few years, 176,000. The next section is what we plan to do for roadway rehabilitation, which is Buena Vista. And that's coming in at 754,000. And then the next one, of course, is, you know, we need to budget some emergency funds, which is the same as it has been the last several years, 67,500. Now, if we do not, just a note, if we do not use all the routine budget work or the emergency budget work, what happens at the end of the year, an entry is made, and that is those funds that were not used is put back into roadway rehabilitation. So we don't lose it, you know, in the budget. It's just an adjustment will be made. So that's basically that section. Anybody have any questions?
No?
Okay, and then we'll go on to the written report here, and we can go through this quickly because it's just basically a more detailed synopsis of what I just went through above. So here's the primary zone, budget work, 27,000, routine maintenance, 44,000, emergency, 25,000, and we've got 995,000 that was for the 2000 Sandia Creek and Via Vaquero will be completed this year. So we'll be spending a little over $1 million in this zone. We'll go on to zone 2, and I won't repeat everything. You can see everything. You can see Buena Vista there for 754,000. So that's zone 1. Here's zone 2. This is very minimal, small zone. Here's zone 3. Zone 4. Zone 5. And Marianne, we didn't have time to get it fixed on this one, but she noted that we have Via Verba, and it's Via Yerba, which is number 32 you see there. So we have since made that correction.
Okay.
So that's zone 5, and then here is our standard zone 7, which is just, we put 2,000 in there in case we have to replace any signs along that zone. And that's it for me. Again, if anybody has any questions, I'm here to answer them.
Okay, do we have any questions from anybody?
Yeah, I just was adding it up as we went. You guys have got almost just shy of 20,000 for signs. And if you add up all the various zones, and that's absolutely ridiculous in my opinion. I know it's just a budget item. We haven't appropriated it. We may not spend that, which would be a blessing. But just point of information, from Rancho Cal to Villa Tornado is 1.2 miles. Would anybody like to guess how many signs that Lebrings put up? I mean, there were some there when I moved there 16 years ago. If you don't count the women, the Duluth women's sign, there's 28 signs in 1.2 miles. He just put another 6 signs up. Speed limit 50, speed limit 55, speed limit 45, 50. I mean, the residents that have been living out there for years, we don't need a speed sign every 200-300 feet. So I asked him at the last meeting, I don't know if he's listening, but I asked him that I have to leave early. I can't stay late, but I just wanted to put this in while we're talking about sign expenditures. I know he's a traffic engineer, but I didn't move to Duluth to have it, the whole place turn into Temecula. And if you've ever looked at Temecula, you can see how many signs are up on every corner. I mean, there's at least a half a dozen within 50 feet of a corner. So I would hope we wouldn't need to spend that whole 20,000 on signs. That doesn't even count the labor. Thank you.
All right, thank you. We will move on. Item I is the, we are now on the Sandia Creek Via Vaquero reconstruction program, project, sorry. And I believe since Dave Hunt is not here, Ron, you're going to give us a report on that.
Yes, thank you. As was just mentioned, Dave Hunt was not able to make it, unfortunately, but I am the deputy district engineer. If anyone doesn't know me, I think everyone here knows me, but I'm Ron Stein. I'm with Wildan Engineering, and I'll be giving the update on item H here, Sandia Creek and Via Vaquero. And basically, it's just consistent with what we discussed in the last meeting. Everything's on pace. We discussed with our environmental sub-consultant, and we are looking forward to getting the permits mid-July. And at that time, as we've been ready for a while now, we are ready to go. Once we receive that environmental permit, it'll be shovels in the ground and we're ready to go. So we're looking forward to that, but that's basically the status on that. Expecting the permits by mid-July and have a negotiation with Marietta Development prior to that. And we are ready for doing that. So that's basically the update now. Everything's consistent with what we discussed in the last meeting and we're on pace for that.
Great. Does anybody have any questions to Ron for that?
Ron, I can just tell you that I've been getting letters the last couple of days from these state agencies like Fish and Wildlife and all. And I can verify that, in fact, they are going to get, like Fish and Wildlife, I just read a few hours ago. Our application is complete and accepted, and they will have an answer to us, I think they said by July 7th or something like that. And that but they say you are not allowed to proceed or we will shut you down. This is just a letter saying that we are looking at your application. So anyway, yeah, it's looking good, at least from what I can see.
Yeah, thanks, Jim. We've definitely received some feedback from the agencies and we're seeing our hard work paying off. So we're definitely looking forward to it. So I guess fingers crossed here.
Yep. Well, that's good. We kind of need to get opened up again. All right, we will move along to item I, which is the Buena Vista Culvert Repair Project. And I believe that is also you, Ron.
That is me. So I'm going up 2 in a row here. So basically for this one, we're discussing right now the Buena Vista. This is for the repair of the washout, as everyone here is well aware of. Right now, we put together a staff report basically recommending the approval of the bid documents. The bid documents are all done and everything is ready to go on that one. And so we're recommending for the approval of those bid documents. And the next recommendation would be to authorize the board of directors to allow the Buena Vista Culvert Repair Project to advertise and allow the district to accept bids for the project. And that will be a bid period. And we'll have the bid period, accept the bids, find the lowest responsible bidder. And then at that time, we will move on and recommend for the award of the construction once we find that lowest responsible bidder. So that's kind of our recommendations here. The plans are all there, as again Jessica has up on the screen now. So I think we're ready to proceed with those, and I think we're good to go.
Okay, a question real quick, Mike, are you there? Can anybody else tell on the screen if Mike is there, because I'm not seeing him?
I don't see him.
Okay, so my question is, when we start the meeting with a quorum, can we vote to approve and do bid document approved and the advertise and to allow the district to accept bids for the project? Can we do that with just the two of us, since we did start with a quorum? I don't know what the story is with that. Ward, do you have an opinion?
You'll need to have at least 3 out of the 5 vote for it.
Okay, so
We'll have to wait until one of them comes back.
so that would be Mike, because I think Robert was having issues with his wife being stuck somewhere, so
Oh,
that
here he is.
means,
Here he is.
oh, there you are. Good.
There he is. Would somebody make a motion?
Right, so at this point, we've just been talking about the Buena Vista Culvert Repair Project. And we need to make a motion and vote for bid documents approval. So can we have a motion for that?
And that would be to adopt resolution 2104.
Right,
2021-04.
yes.
2021-04 to allow us to go out
Bid-
there.
Public bidding,
So move.
okay.
I second it.
Okay, and all in favor, please so indicate by saying aye. Mike Adams,
Adams, aye.
Mr. Johnson,
Johnson, I.
and Marion Byers, aye. The second part of this is we need to have a motion and a vote to approve the advertising and allow for the Duluth CSD to accept bids for the project. Can we have
Actually, that's contained in the resolution.
that is contained within,
Go.
we don't
Yeah.
need a second. All right,
Yeah, we
That
sure
is-
did.
okay, well, that is a good thing. We like short. All right, we'll move on to traffic safety. And that report is being brought to us by Mr. Libre.
Thank you, thank you.
Mhm.
All right, this is going to be a quick one because Sam took half my items.
Oh,
Go ahead, Jessica. All right, so we're rotating the CMSR. It's out on Deanza now, and we'll be moving it to a few other streets here in the coming weeks. We did fix a few speed limit signs that were incorrectly placed before, so we made those adjustments this week. We had an abandoned motor home, and it's now gone. So we got that out of here. And then this was a little safety issue we ran into with the flagman out on Via Vaquero. So I stopped and had a talk with them, and we got that problem fixed. And then as Sam indicated to you, they did the county put up the signs, so they put up the barricades, they put up these rocks, doing everything can to get people not to stop along Rancho California Road. The K-Rail will keep them out of the private property land area there and restrict access. And with that, I'll answer any questions you have on traffic.
sounds like we don't have any questions from the board, so we will move on to the committee reports. At this point,
I got maintenance if you'd like.
yes, of course. Please do.
Okay. We've been spraying weeds all over and mowing them down too at the same time. So we did quite a few streets here just in the last couple of weeks. We're still sending out letters to some people who have not complied. Now, we've got a few that have not complied that need to trim their private trees. This is one of the new projects that we're taking on where we have fire hydrants that had weeds. This is what it looks like before. And then our guys are going in and clearing it out and spraying afterwards. Here's our latest little fun trip was we had a pothole. Looks unassuming right there, but when you get closer to it, you find out that there's actually some undermining going on. So Pedro sectioned it off and secured the area for us. Then we identified what we thought we might be cutting out, but we looked at it real closely. We see there's quite more undermining below the pavement. So we rented a saw cut and we cut this bigger section out so we could get all the damaged soil out of there and contaminated soil out. Then we compacted it, got it nice and smooth. And there's the final course that we put on it with our road soup. And then we sealed it. Now, if we'd have had them come out and do this under emergency repair, the last contractor that did a similar job like that charged us $5,900. Our staff asked if they could do it in-house, and we had to rent a saw. We had 8 hours of time and the asphalt cost for the road soup. So we spent a little over $500. So we saved over $5,000 on this one project from our good staff doing the work in-house. So with that, I'll answer any questions that you have.
No, that's excellent. I'm glad we're moving in that direction. Like you said, we're making good use of our in-house staff and we're saving a lot of money for our taxpayers. So that's wonderful. Thank you. Does anybody else have any questions? Mr. Liebring? No, then let's move on. We have committee reports. Now the engineering committee report is usually made by Mr. Robert D'Alessandri. I'm the other member of the report, and it basically had to do with the budget that we just went over with, oh, there you are. Hi, Robert. Go ahead, please.
Oh, basically, if you've already done the budget, that was really the committee. The only other thing to report is that our interest is now at 0.3%.
Yeah.
So it could get lower, and it might, but we'll see where it is, where it goes in the future. That's the report.
Okay, actually, I just switched around. I see that I started with the finance committee report, but we actually have the engineering committee report. And that, I guess today, since Debbie is not there, will be conducted by Mr. Johnson.
I'm sorry, which?
We are doing the engineering committee report.
Oh, hang on. Just a moment, we have a printer.
That's what it looks like. That's like Joe Biden. Call him Joe.
Hang on.
If you want to, Ray, we can just move on with the legislative committee report and serve to you.
Yeah, that works.
But we'll do that. So legislative committee report, Robert D'Alessandri and Jim Emmons and myself have had kind of a busy last month. As you might recall, during the last board meeting, we told you that Senator Melendez basically was not able to accomplish the legislation 1 year and moved it as a 2-year project up in Sacramento. So there was also, we'll just say, we decided that we needed to try and see if we could not solve this issue that we're having on a more close in with the county of Riverside, rather than trying to go the legislation route. So we were able to do a Zoom meeting with a whole bunch of the Riverside County, and also including Senator Melendez and Supervisor Kevin Jeffries. Now, we have a slide that we showed to the Riverside County officials. There was a lot of department managers, their traffic managers, transportation managers, as well as Senator Melendez and Kevin Jeffries. Can you go ahead and put that up for our board, please, Jim? Or Jessica?
Sure.
Okay, so that will show you what we presented to Riverside County and Kevin Jeffries and Senator Melendez.
It's in the board packet, isn't it? It's in the
Yeah,
board
it's in the
packet.
board packet also.
Pardon?
It's in the board packet, but Jessica, I'm assuming you're pulling it up,
I am.
and we can just go through it quickly.
Yeah.
I have it here. President Byers, you want to do it, or would you like me to just rip through it like I did at the meeting?
Yeah, rip through it in about warp speed. That'd be
At
great.
warp speed, okay, we needed to tell them who we were. And
Yeah.
then, and this is a who we were, we showed them a map, because I think some of those Riverside County people have never been to Duluth, so how big we are, how many roads, what our budget is, we went through all that. Next slide. We wanted them to see, because some of the staff was in Sacramento, so they've never seen it. So we gave them an example of our roads. Next slide. And then we gave them an example of county roads. That's Duluth Road. We didn't rub it in, though. We just
Yeah,
noted.
these pictures that you're seeing there is we took basically two identical stages or roads, and one is county maintained and the other one is maintained by the district. So you can see they
Yeah.
look almost
Yeah.
odd. Go ahead.
The county's obviously on the right, of course.
Yeah.
But we didn't rub it in. So next slide. These are roads that we've taken over later after the district formed. And so it goes through the subdivision process, and many people don't understand the county requires these roads of people who subdivide their property. It's not like we built them or whatever, as some people at the county believe. So these are both 1 year ago on the left, and this is the road you took over a year ago. You can't remember, it's the doctor who developed these 9 lots. And he named it after his road after himself. Anybody remember the name? Anyway, so this is a brand new one. This is the latest that the county sends to us. Next slide. And of course, look on the right, we said, this is what our crews clean up, in the morning after the rains. And on the left is Buena Vista. That's a $1 million job that we're taking on this summer. Next slide. So the history began with Kaiser subdividing this 33 square miles. Prop 13 hit. There weren't any funds to fund these roads. So the developer and the county got together and said, well, how do we tax the people? And they went to LAFCO to create, they looked at a city that was rejected. Then they looked at a tax district. People and the developer didn't want it because they didn't have any say. The county just taxed them every year and that would be it. And the third alternative was create a CSD where the people like you, the 5 of you, would be elected and would run these tax dollars. So that's what happened in '79. They created the district. The district began assessing for roads and law enforcement. Everything was going fine till Prop 13 hit, or Prop 218 hit, and that froze all the sheriff and the road assessments. What that really meant is the district every year has less and less to spend on rehab. We bought the paver program about 5-6 years ago. Paver just happens to be the same system of pavement management that the county of Riverside has. And Paver has indicated that it would take 18 million to bring the roads up to good standard throughout the district. And of course, we don't have 18 million here. And in addition to that, we have under our pavement, we have corrugated metal pipe culverts. And we did a census a few years back and we own 732 of them. And we've had failures at 3 locations, Sandia Creek, Buena Vista, and Villa Vaquero. So that problem isn't going to go away. It's going to get bigger and bigger and bigger. So we've come up with a solution that we could simply amend the original resolutions that the county adopted back between 1979 and 85, just change the language to conform with the Streets and Highways Code, develop an agreement that would allow the county to put our 86 miles of road in as county roads, receive additional gas tax. They make an agreement with us to transfer those funds to us. And if we can do that, we don't need SB 415.
Right.
And if now, Mary Ann or Robert, I just probably can say what the public comment period resulted in after this presentation.
Okay.
So my presentation is concluded.
Okay. So I will start off with the public comment, which wasn't really so much public comment, but just the various department heads within the Riverside County had a lot of expectations that we were there just looking for money and that the county would have to give out money to the district, coming there with hat in hand. We really needed to repeat the essence of our proposal, which is that it is just a funnel through the Riverside County to the district, and that the only difference, it would be an amendment to the resolution that originally got us put together as a district. At that point, after we had repeated this for about the 10th time, and before Kevin Jeffries actually was going to leave because he said he had to leave early, he said that as long as there was no cost involved to the Riverside County, that he would support it. So this is actually a fairly big thing. If we can get his support, we can then get his buy-in to propose this to the other supervisors. We're also going to need to do the actual language to amend the resolution. But we actually made a lot of progress this past month. See here, Robert, please add to that what you took from the meeting.
Agree with what you've said, and I think that you and Jim did a wonderful job of not only explaining the issue but addressing the questions that came up. And there was one of the county individuals, I think the COO, was very negative about us, kept saying, oh, we wanted to take over Sandia Creek and that would solve your problem. And Jim responded, that's only, 6-7 miles of all of our roads. That doesn't really help us. And I think Jeffries understood that. And I think that both of you really did a great job in explaining the issue. It seems what I took away from it is just what you said, Mary Ann, is that Jeffries would support a motion that would allow them to enter our roads, receive the tax, road tax, the gas tax from that, and then pass that on to us. So I think that we've made a lot of progress, and as I say, that was the only meeting I've ever been at related to the gas tax with the county that turned out to be positive.
Yeah. It was, we thought we were pretty much dead in the water through 75% of the meeting. Ward Simmons, who was also at the meeting, would you please share your impressions of how the meeting went and, the way forward from here?
Well, I would say it did seem negative at first. You were talking about Juan Perez. Seemed like he was against it, but he seemed to soften up at the end, especially, he offered to meet with Jim. So I think that that was going to be one of our action plans, was to maybe schedule a meeting where, and I'm not exactly sure if that's the next step, the very next step, but that might be one of the next steps to meet individually with Mr. Perez.
Could I ask a question?
Go ahead.
Well, these different slideshow presentations, who developed those? How were they developed in-house by Jim and Mary Ann, or who developed these?
Actually, Jessica is our artist. We found out she's an in-house artist.
In my opinion, this is the best layout description of our problem and for once a possible solution, which is a coherent presentation to make in front of the county supervisors, and the picture is worth 1,000 words. And I think this was, for me at least, we've been chasing our tail all along, but this succinctly puts it into some kind of a visual thing. Most people are visual, and it's not too hard to follow this and figure out that we're legitimate. So thank you, Jessica, for the artwork, and also thank you, staff and Jim, for your for defining this and following through with it. Very good.
Thank you.
It was a great presentation by Jim, and then it was followed, that was like a 15-minute presentation, and it was followed by about 45 minutes of open discussion. And it was, it was going back and forth quite a bit. So we felt pleased with our progress there. And we're gonna meet again and discuss in further detail how we now follow through on that and make sure that this happens. So that was a good thing. The last thing you haven't seen is just a couple of letters that we sent out to Senator Melendez and also Supervisor Kevin Jeffries. And it's basically just tell him, yeah, he did say that he would support us. And thank you, by the way, for having the meeting. So I think with that kind of concludes the legislative committee report. And if anybody else has any questions, I'm here. Okay. Well, can we circle back to you, Ray? Are you ready?
Yeah, just tell them to get started.
I'm sorry.
Are you ready to do the engineering report at this point?
Yeah, just tell them to get started.
Started, Tuesday, May 11th at 5 p.m. Had call to order, public comment. Minutes been approved. Discussed the Sandia Creek and Via Vaquero reconstruction. Dave Hunt discussed the Buena Vista reconstruction. Discussed the traffic issues and the speed sign being moved throughout the district. Discussed the skid steer and the savings that would provide to the district. And then we discussed meetings regarding gas tax. And Emmett said that he would wait for Mary Ann to give further details to the board meeting. And that was it.
All right. Does anybody have any questions? Okay, well, thank you very much, Ray. All right, we move on to the general manager report, and that would be you, Mr. Emmons.
I'll just add on a little bit here to this, your legislative report. Right about that same time, in fact, it was Friday and we had this meeting on Monday. I went to a breakfast meeting, the first time I've been to a business meeting and a meal in a year and 2 months. But it was a group of all the cities and counties and all. And it was to meet Jeffrey Van Wagenen, who is the new CEO of Riverside County. And it just so happens the guy at our meeting the following or Monday was the COO and had just been appointed by this Jeffrey Van Wagenen. So he made a nice presentation about what he expected to do as the new CEO of the county. And so at the end, I just made it kind of a beeline over to him. And it just so happened that Senator Melinda's aide was there talking to him. So I just introduced myself and gave him a 45-second summary of our gas tax problem, and that we were meeting Monday with his number 2 guy, so anyway, he is from Temecula-Murrieta area. He had a law firm 15 years ago here until he rejoined the county. He had been a prosecutor originally, worked his way up to become the head administrator for the county. And in his speech, he was talking about that he is pushing the county staff to be much more attentive to unincorporated areas. And that's why people incorporate, because they're unhappy, and form a city because they're unhappy with the service they're getting from the county. But he said it's not people's fault that they're in unincorporated, but they basically don't have a city hall or a mayor or, council members that look out for their interests. And that he believes the county staff has got to be much more attentive to the needs of the unincorporated areas. So I said, it's just very interesting because I've got to present this Monday to your number 2 man. And I just hope he heard your message because he's not here, but we're unincorporated. We need help. And he said, that's really interesting about those roads and the Prop 13 and all that. And he said, and he goes, I know Duluth, I lived there for years, or in the area for years. And he goes, so I'll keep an eye on this. So he hands me his card and he wrote it down. So it was obvious to me in hearing the number 2 guy at our meeting and how I felt he was rather obnoxious in his comments against Duluth and our crummy roads, even though I just showed him a picture of his own crummy road and didn't say anything. I just made the point, this is your road. He could see it, but somehow I've got to tie that conversation back. So maybe I can go to another meeting where he is or something and go up to him and say, remember we talked, but it didn't go so well with your guy, or something like that. But anyway, it was just one of those opportunities that just happens. And I'm glad he's very, very progressive kind of guy. And the county CEOs tend to, you don't even know who they are. They're just figureheads kind of thing. And so I'm hoping that he can do some good things for the county overall. And who knows, maybe he can help us out somewhere.
Right.
That's my report.
That's wonderful. No, it was a busy month regarding fuel tax. All right.
There's one other thing, if I might.
Yes, go ahead.
Mary Ann, there's one other thing. Jim and I met with staff to discuss the upcoming contract.
Yes.
And we're going to continue to meet with them. It was a very productive meeting. We're understanding some of their issues a lot better, and we'll have a full report at the next board meeting.
Right.
Is that okay, Jim? That's satisfactory?
Yes, perfect.
Sounds really good. I think that we are on our last item on our agenda, and that's the legal counsel matters. Mr. Simmons.
Just wanted to, I have 2 short reports. One is that in the lawsuit with Duluth Community Services District versus Jose Ramon Canas, we did find finally the trucking company called Concept Freight has emerged and is going to participate in that lawsuit. And so they answered the complaint from the district, and they cross-complained against the truck driver who still has not appeared. So that is moving forward, and they'll start the discovery process here very soon. The second matter is, you'll remember last month I was reporting on Senate Bill 1383 about the extra requirements on refuse collection. And we did get an email statement from the Department of Resources, Recycling and Recovery, more popularly known as Cal Recycle. And they did confirm that the district would be qualifying for a low population waiver. So they would not be subject to SB 1383. So we did get an email confirming
That's
that.
great.
That would have been quite a bit extra fees or monies going to garbage collection. So that's wonderful.
We will have to go through an application process to get that waiver, but they haven't even developed that process yet. So we're gonna monitor that, and once they develop the application process, we'll be in there and applying for that waiver. That's my report, President.
Bert, I have a question.
Sure.
I just learned this because we haven't talked in a little while. Does CR&R know the information you just said? Does CR&R that's our, okay, we need to get that to them. So
Okay.
give me a call or whatever. I mean, this is huge. It's gonna double everybody's trash bill if we don't get this exemption.
Great.
And they don't want the business, because what it means is they're gonna have to run 2 trucks through Duluth. And that's gonna get, I mean, if you run 2 trucks, it's gonna be about the same price, but that means double. So they don't really want to do it. They're fine doing it the way they're doing it now. And so they're watching this closely. So I think we all communicate, you communicate with them.
Very good.
Because they've been pushing me to get this exemption.
Great. We
So,
got it.
Okay. Thanks.
Okay. Unless anybody has any other comments or questions, I think this concludes the meeting and we are adjourned. Thank you. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you all.
Good evening.
Thank you.
Oh, boy.
Mhm.